This may or may not be the best song on the Midnights album. This song is heavily speculated to be about John Mayer, who Taylor Swift of course dated when she was only 19 years old. And he was 32 at the time, so we have an age gap of exactly 13 years, which kind of explains why Taylor was so okay with it. This song explores a lot of religious and biblical imagery in the hindsight of regretting a relationship. So let's start with the verses. Here she explores the different ways she can think of that would have prevented them from getting together in the first place. Like if they hadn't held eye contact. If you would have blinked, then I would have looked away at the first glance. Or if he had just realized that this type of relationship wasn't gonna work because of their age difference. If you tasted poison, you could have spit me out at the first chance. This next line I love because she both suggests that either him or the media have portrayed her as having like stained his reputation, but she's also insulting him. If I was some paint, did it splatter on a promising grown man? So she's saying that if she was paint, did she splatter on him? Did she stain him? Did she damage, is it like his reputation or his public image? This could be of course from him dating someone younger, or also because she put out the song Dear John and directly called him out. But then she addresses him as a promising grown man. Like a grown man is someone established, like an achieved person, but by adding the word promising, she's implying that he has not really reached where he could be right now in life. If someone is promising, they're showing a lot of potential, but they're not there yet. And of course, her saying grown man is just reiterating the age difference, which she does again in the next line when she says, and if I was a child, did it matter if you got to wash your hands? Washing your hands of something is very biblical imagery, and it essentially means that you rid yourself of guilt from something. So she's saying that he didn't care how young she was as long as he didn't have to face consequences for what he was doing. In the second verse, she follows the same type of messaging, ultimately creating a long train of would'ves, could'ves, should'ves. If you never touched me, I would have gone along with the righteous. Because of course, if he had just not shown interest in her from the beginning, none of this relationship would have happened and she would have saved herself from all that pain that came afterwards. If I never blushed, then they would have never whispered about this. So of course, she's also addressing her own role in the situation. Finally, she suggests that he pulled her out of a really difficult time in her life, that she was actually feeling quite vulnerable during that time, and that if things had been different for her, probably things would have been different in that relationship in the first place. Maybe if she was in a different spot in her life, she wouldn't have been interested in him. If you never saved me from boredom, I would have gone on as I was. But Lord, you made me feel important and then you tried to erase us. So she's saying he saved her from boredom, but ultimately tried to take that away from her. And in the pre-chorus and early chorus, she goes into how she felt a really big loss of her innocence through this relationship. All I used to do was pray, would've, could've, should've. If you'd never looked my way, I would have stayed on my knees. So what she's saying here is that she used to pray, and if it hadn't been for him, she would have stayed on her knees. So she would have stayed praying. She would have stayed on this like righteous path that she's talking about. This could also be a parallel to her song Dear John, where she says, praying the fool won't fall through, as a way to express her desperation for normality in their relationship. The chorus continues and she says, and I damn sure never would have danced with the devil at 19. To dance with the devil is a slang phrase that essentially means like doing risky things, inappropriate things, or potentially behaving immorally, meaning that this relationship led her to act in ways that she now deems inappropriate. Then she goes on to talk about how the pain of the relationship was almost pleasurable to her, probably because it was adventurous for her to be dating a grown man. And the God's honest truth is that the pain was heaven. Now that I'm grown, I'm scared of ghosts, memories feel like weapons. But now that she's grown and she sees that relationship for what it was, she's even scared of it, to the point where the memories are so painful. She's left with such a bad aftertaste that she would have rather had just never known what it would have been like to be with him. And now that I know, I wish you'd left me wondering. Again, here we can draw another parallel to Dear John, where she says, I should have known. In the second pre-chorus, she calls him out as a crisis of her faith, so really intensifying those feelings that he put her through. It could also be in reference to her song with John, Half of My Heart, where he sings, your faith is strong, but I can only fall short for so long. Now we reach the bridge. So we start off with her intensifying this biblical imagery. God rest my soul, I miss who I used to be. The tomb won't close, stained glass windows in my mind. God rest my soul and stained glass windows in my mind really give church imagery. She also says, I miss who I used to be, which could be reflecting on the earlier line where she said, if you never saved me from boredom, I could have gone on as I was. Again, really emphasizing that she lost a piece of herself. She continues, I regret you all the time, I can't let this go, I fight with you in my sleep. The wound won't close, I keep waiting for a sign, I regret you all the time. So here, of course, the song is like really building up. When she says the tomb won't close, it just means that these things from her past keep creeping out and they just won't go away. She can't seem to put the relationship at its final place of rest. And when she says I fight with you in my sleep, it means that even in her dreams, he shows up and brings things from the past. I think we've all been there when you have a fight with someone and then like 3 years later, 5 years later, whatever amount of time, you just think of the perfect thing to say to them. She says the wound won't close, so whatever pain he has caused her, it's still there. It still stings and it's still hurting her. That's how deep it was. And she makes her key point very clear that she regrets him. She regrets the whole relationship and she just wished it hadn't happened at all. Then she says, if clarity's in death, then why won't this die? Again, similarly to the tomb lyric, the relationship, even though it's over, some of the things from it are still haunting her. Then she says, years of tearing down our banners, you and I. Tearing down banners gives more of a war imagery, where once you defeat your rival, you take down their banners and you put up your own, suggesting that ever since the relationship ended, she has been looking for ways to get back at him, which suggests that even years after the relationship ended, she's been looking for ways to get back at him. This, of course, feeds into the next part where she says, living for the thrill of hitting you where it hurts. And of course, then we get the most heartbreaking lyric of all time, give me back my girlhood, it was mine first. And let's just address the way she delivers that line because it's so powerful, like her vocals, like the pain, and it's just very intense. Again, she's addressing that she went in too young in this relationship to know better, and she feels like she lost a piece of her childhood, she lost a piece of herself. Then the chorus plays again, and we reach the end of a song that we are about to hit replay on. That's it for this track. If you think I missed any other interesting things in the lyrics, or maybe you have different theories about what different things mean, make sure to let me know below. Also, let me know what other songs you'd like to see a deep dive on. I think I'm going to be doing Maroon next because that one is also very interesting lyrically. And we have reached the end of this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe so we can hang out again. Bye!